There's a specific kind of person who looks unstoppable on paper. They wake up at 5, they journal, they cold plunge, they track their sleep, their macros, their deep work hours. They've read the books, taken the courses, optimized the routine down to the minute. And then the moment real pressure hits, the deal collapses, the team turns on them, the numbers come in wrong, the day goes off script, they fall apart faster than the person who did none of it. You've seen this. Maybe you've lived it. The most prepared person in the room freezing while someone less polished, less optimized, less disciplined on paper stays calm and just handles it. This is the part nobody wants to say out loud about self-improvement culture. Done wrong? It doesn't make you stronger under pressure. It makes you more fragile. It builds a version of you that only works when conditions are perfect. And pressure is the one situation where conditions are never perfect. So, if you've ever wondered why all your discipline, all your routines, all your effort seems to evaporate the second the stakes get high, this is for you. Because the problem isn't that you need more self-improvement. The problem might be that self-improvement, the way most people practice it, is quietly training you to break. Let's be clear about something before we go further, because this is easy to misread. There is nothing wrong with self-improvement. Training your body, sharpening your mind, building skill, getting more disciplined, these are good things. The Stoics would have agreed completely. The danger isn't the effort. The danger is what you're actually building when you think you're building strength. Here's the distinction that matters. There are two kinds of self-improvement, and they look almost identical from the outside. The first kind builds capacity. It expands what you can handle. You train hard so that when things get heavy, you have more in reserve. You practice difficult conversations so the real one doesn't shake you. You sit with discomfort on purpose so that discomfort stops controlling you. This kind of improvement makes you more durable. It widens your range. The second kind does the opposite. It builds dependence. It narrows your range while making you feel like it's widening. This is the person who can only focus with the right playlist, the right lighting, the right supplement stack, the right pre-work ritual. They've optimized their performance, but only inside a very specific, very controlled environment. They've built a beautiful machine that runs perfectly in the lab and stalls the moment it hits the road. Think about what pressure actually does. Pressure removes your conditions. It takes away the time you wanted, the information you needed, the calm you were counting on. Pressure is the road, not the lab. And if everything you've built only works in the lab, then the harder you've optimized, the more you have to lose the moment reality stops cooperating. The trader who can only think clearly after a perfect night's sleep is in trouble the night the position blows up at 3 in the morning. The leader who needs their routine to feel grounded is lost the week the routine becomes impossible. You didn't get stronger. You got more conditional. So the first question isn't how much are you improving. It's this. Are you building something that holds up when the conditions disappear? Or something that only works when life agrees to be gentle with you? It would be easy to take all this and conclude that the answer is to stop caring, to drop the routines, to go soft, and call it freedom. That's not it. And the Stoics, who understood pressure better than almost anyone, would have rejected that completely. These were not passive men. Marcus Aurelius ran an empire through plague and war. Seneca operated at the highest, most dangerous level of Roman politics, where a wrong move meant death. Epictetus was born a slave and built a school that shaped emperors. They trained relentlessly. Their minds, their reactions, their judgment. They were deeply disciplined people. So the Stoic objection was never to self-improvement. Their objection was to building your stability on things you don't control. That's the whole game. Epictetus opens his teaching with one idea, and everything else hangs off it. Some things are within our power, and some things are not. Within our power are our judgments, our intentions, our responses. Not within our power are circumstances, outcomes, other people, and the conditions of any given day. Now apply that to modern self-improvement. When you build your performance on the perfect morning routine, you've anchored yourself to something outside your control. Because some mornings get hijacked. When you need the cold plunge and the journaling and the 2 hours of deep work to feel capable, you've handed your capability to a set of conditions that pressure will eventually take away. You've built your house on someone else's land. The Stoic move is the opposite. Train hard, yes, but train so that the strength lives in you, not in your circumstances. Seneca did something that sounds almost insane to the modern optimizer. He deliberately practiced poverty. He'd set aside days to eat the plainest food, wear the roughest clothes, sleep rough, and then ask himself, is this the condition I was so afraid of? He wasn't punishing himself. He was proving to himself that he didn't need the good conditions to be okay. He was removing the dependence on purpose. That's the difference. The optimizer adds more conditions and calls it progress. The Stoic removes dependence on conditions and calls it freedom. One of these people gets stronger under pressure. The other just has more things that can be taken away. So how does a smart, driven person walk straight into this without noticing? Because the trap is subtle, and it's powered by something that feels exactly like virtue. It starts with a real problem. You feel scattered, anxious, behind. You want control. So you add a system. The morning routine, the tracking app, the strict diet. And it works. At first. You feel more in command, more grounded. That's real. But here's what's happening underneath. Every system you add to feel calm is also a system you now depend on to feel calm. The relief is real, but so is the new fragility. And because the relief feels so good, you don't stop. You add another, and another. Each one narrows the band of conditions under which you can perform. You're not building a wider foundation. You're building a taller, thinner tower and calling the height progress. Then there's the second mechanism, and this one is quieter and more dangerous. Self-improvement becomes a way to avoid the actual pressure. It's far more comfortable to spend Sunday designing the perfect system than to sit in the discomfort of the hard decision you've been dodging all week. Optimizing your life can become a sophisticated form of hiding from your life. You feel productive. You feel disciplined. But you're using preparation as a substitute for the exposure that would actually build the capacity you need. The boxer who only ever hits the bag and never spars feels like a fighter, looks like a fighter, but has never once been hit by someone trying to hit back. The first real punch ends the illusion. And here's the third piece, the one that connects to the deepest part of this. Underneath a lot of relentless self-improvement is not discipline at all. It's fear. Fear of being caught unprepared. Fear of not being enough as you are. So you optimize, not from strength, but to manage anxiety. And anything you do to manage anxiety, you become dependent on, which means the anxiety is still running the show. It just wears the costume of discipline now. Marcus wrote a line that cuts straight to this. He said that very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself, in your way of thinking. He wasn't telling you to do nothing. He was warning that if you keep looking outside yourself for the next system, the next hack, the next condition that will finally make you feel ready, you will never feel ready because readiness was never out there. The trap closes the moment self-improvement stops being something you do to expand yourself and becomes something you need in order to feel okay. At that point, the tool owns you. And a person owned by their tools does not stay composed when those tools are stripped away. Pressure strips them away every single time. So what does real strength under pressure actually look like if it isn't the stack of routines? It looks boring, honestly. It looks like a person who can lose the morning, lose the sleep, lose the plan, lose the comfort, and still function. Not because they don't value those things, but because their capability doesn't live in them. Here's how you build that. And it's almost the inverse of what self-improvement culture sells you. First, train to subtract, not just to add. Most people only ever practice performing with everything dialed in. Start practicing with things removed on purpose. Do the work without the playlist. Make the decision without the full information you wish you had. Have the hard conversation tired and unprepared. Skip the ritual on purpose sometimes and prove to yourself you don't break without it. This is Seneca's practiced poverty, applied to performance. Every time you function without a condition you thought you needed, that dependence dies and real capacity takes its place. Second, separate the practice from the comfort. A useful routine and a security blanket can look identical, so test them. Ask of any habit, is this expanding what I can handle, or is it just making me feel safe? The cold plunge that builds your tolerance for discomfort is capacity. The same cold plunge that you panic without is dependence. Same action, opposite effect. The test isn't whether you do it. The test is who's in charge when you can't. Third, seek real exposure, not just preparation. The capacity to stay composed under pressure is built by being under pressure in measured, deliberate doses, not by reading about it. Spar. Don't just hit the bag. Put yourself in rooms slightly beyond your level. Take on the project that scares you a little. Volunteer for the conversation you'd rather avoid. Controlled exposure is the only thing that actually rewires your response to stress, because your nervous system learns from experience, not from intention. Fourth, anchor to what you control. When the pressure is at its highest, you will not have time to consult your system. You'll have a fraction of a second and a chaotic situation. In that moment, the only thing available to you is what Epictetus pointed at from the start: your judgment and your response. Practice returning to that. Not what's happening, but what will I do with what's happening? That anchor is always with you. It can't be left at home, lost in a bad week, or stripped away by circumstance. It's the one foundation pressure can't reach. And notice what happens when you build this way. The strength stops being something you maintain with constant effort and anxiety, and starts being something you simply are. You can still keep your good routines, train hard, sleep well, stay disciplined. But now they're tools you use, not crutches you need. If they vanish tomorrow, you're still standing. That's the whole difference. That's the version of you that pressure can't dismantle because there's nothing left to take that you were depending on. So here's where this leaves you. The goal was never to do less. Discipline is real, training is real, and the work matters. The goal is to make sure that what you're building is strength, and not just a more elaborate set of conditions you can't live without. Ask yourself the honest question. If tomorrow your routine collapsed, your sleep was wrecked, your plan fell apart, and the pressure arrived anyway, what would be left? Whatever your answer is, that is your actual strength. Everything else was scaffolding. The work, then, is to keep what genuinely expands you and quietly let go of everything you only kept because it made you feel safe. Train. So the strength lives in you, not in your circumstances. Practice losing your conditions on purpose, so that losing them by accident no longer ends you. Anchored to the one thing pressure can never take: how you choose to respond. Do that long enough, and something shifts. You stop needing the perfect day to perform. You stop bracing for the moment it all goes wrong, because you already know you'll be fine when it does. That's not the absence of discipline. That's discipline that finally serves you instead of owning you. The composed mind isn't the most optimized one in the room. It's the one that doesn't need the room to be perfect. Build that. And pressure stops being the thing that breaks you. It becomes the thing that proves what you've actually built.